Everyone is familiar with Starbucks. Their stores are found in big cities and small towns across the U.S. In fact, Starbucks has nearly 6,000 outlets in more than 30 countries throughout the world. Since opening in 1971, they have become a very big business indeed, with annual revenues in excess of $3.3 billion. But Starbucks depends on a very small product for its success, the coffee bean. Coffee is grown in 70 tropical nations, and its quality varies tremendously from region to region.
At Starbucks, we buy a very, very special grade of coffee. It's generally grown above 3,500 feet altitude all the way up to almost 6,000 feet. The high altitude gives you the warm days and cool nights, and it is that combination that creates what we refer to as a hard bean coffee. It's really essentially very dense, and it's that density and that compaction of flavors is what creates specialty coffee. There are two different types of coffees grown. There's Arabica and Robusta, are the two different species. Everything in the specialty is Arabica, and in particular above 3,500 feet, what we buy.
Starbucks is an example of what the industry calls a specialty coffee seller. The specialty coffee industry has grown tremendously over the past 20 years. In 1980, there were 275 specialty coffee cafes and bean retailers in the U.S. 20 years later, that number was up to nearly 14,000 retailers, with Starbucks representing 16% of that number. Even with that growth, the specialty coffee market accounts for only 10% of worldwide coffee purchases. Starbucks itself purchases about 1.5% of the coffee beans sold in the world. In recent years, coffee producers have faced a crisis. Like other commodities, the price of coffee beans is set by its trading value on the floor of commodities exchanges. For the past 5 years, more than enough coffee has been produced to meet the world demand. As a result, the market price has fallen to 50 cents a pound. For most coffee producers, a price less than 80 cents a pound means they spend more to grow the coffee than they receive for selling it. At such prices, small growers can't survive. Starbucks, therefore, faces a serious challenge. How do they ensure that they will continue to have access to the products they need in a market which has the potential to put their suppliers out of business?
We want our farmers in business every year, year after year. We need them as much as they need us. We do pay higher prices. Number one reason is quality, because we're getting a very special type of coffee. We want to sustain them in their growth, and we want to sustain them so we can grow. So we buy, on average, $1.20 a pound green for our purchases last year. We want to be fairly traded coffee on everything we buy.
In the depressed coffee market, the specialty coffee premium still doesn't cover the grower's cost of production. For that reason, Starbucks has implemented a number of strategies to ensure the sustainability of their product.
At Starbucks, we don't own any farms. We buy all our coffee. The vast majority of it is bought from small farmers who generally have no more than 1 or 2 hectares of coffee. But we have built these relationships over the years. We have taught them the quality that we're looking for and how to take care of that coffee so that it really does truly become specialty coffee. As a result, they earn a lot more money. They're able to stay in business, and we're able to get great coffee. We have an understanding of what we think it costs to grow coffee in a particular region, and we pay above that price. Price is about the last thing we consider when we're buying coffee. It all starts with the quality. It's not price. Price is the last thing we talk about. And if it's not enough, we've often said, "Are you sure that's enough?" Which is very unusual. But what it means is you're working hand in hand and literally in partnership with the farms. The prices we pay are generally good for a year for that crop. You get 1 crop a year in coffee. We're quite certain that no one else is paying anywhere near that right now. And so these farmers are locking in a guaranteed profit. If prices do go up, and let's say they were to go up above the price we had paid, we would increase the price to that farmer. In many cases, Starbucks goes directly to the farm, negotiates with the farmer himself, and buys from that farm. In cases where we can't do that, and there is an intermediary, we demand that we have price transparency all the way back to what that person paid the farmer. And the reason is we want to keep that farmer in business. We don't care what the intermediary makes. He can make all he wants to off if he's a good negotiator. But we want to see and have audited by a third party exactly what that farmer received for their coffee.
To stabilize prices for both Starbucks and the farmers, the company has started negotiating more long-term contracts with its producers. This guarantees a regular supply of product to Starbucks, as well as guaranteeing future sales at a predictable price for growers. This is especially important in volatile markets.
Anywhere between 2 and 5 years is considered a long-term contract. That allows that farmer the ability to go out and reinvest in their plants, invest in their trees, prune them properly, planning for equipment if they own their own mill. It allows them to put back into their money-making source. This is obviously what we want to get to. That will assure our supplies going out 5 or 6 years.
Recently, Starbucks has partnered with Ecologic Enterprise Ventures and Conservation International, two nonprofit organizations, to provide affordable credit to coffee farmers in Latin America. This is similar to a loan or line of credit that would be available to small businesses in the U.S.
So many farmers have very little access to credit. And because of the coffee crisis, which has happened throughout the world in the last 15 years, prices have been so low and the risk have been so high for local banks, they won't offer them any money. And these farmers need to pay at the time the harvest is picked. They need to pay the pickers. So they need money up front to be able to harvest that crop, and then they get paid for it later. So there's a bridge loan that's needed out there. So Starbucks is contributing money to people who are ecologically friendly and who are our suppliers in those areas. We will put money up front through a third party to loan to farmers so they can pay their pickers and continue to run their business properly. It's not charity. It's not all. It's in our enlightened self-interest to make sure that they're around. So what we're doing is ensuring that the farmers will be around and that we'll be able to get our supply of coffee as we go forward. So there is a self-enlightened interest in us doing this.
A new development in the production of coffee worldwide is the introduction of fair trade coffee. 17 certification initiatives in North America, Europe, and Japan make up the Fair Trade Labeling Organizations International, or FLO. In order to be certified by FLO, coffee producers must belong to democratically run cooperatives or associations and must implement crop management and environmental protection plans. Through price incentives, producers are encouraged to work toward organic production. In return, they are guaranteed a fair price, long-term relationships with importers, and pre-harvest financing or credit. FLO monitors producers worldwide, and Transfair USA certifies fair trade products in the United States.
Fair trade coffee is a model that very much aligns with our way of doing business in terms of getting the farmer a fair price for his coffee and giving back into those communities. They set a minimum price for green coffee. In return for that, they give us a certification stamp which says Fair Trade Coffee that goes on our bags. So we align very nicely with them in many areas. We're not antagonists with them at all. We offer fair trade coffee in our stores, our retail stores. It's coffee of the day at least once a month. We have press pots available in all our retail stores. Anyone that wants fair trade coffee can ask for it, and we're happy to brew them their own fair trade coffee. And we do other promotional activities through brochures and explain what fair trade coffee is. All of the coffee we buy we consider fairly traded. It may not bear a certification stamp, but the principles of our preferred supplier program and how we give back in this community says a lot. And our customers trust us and they expect us to do that, I believe.
Maintaining a sustainable supply of coffee means more than helping farmers. It means preserving the environment in which coffee is grown to ensure a healthy crop for years to come. Starbucks has partnered with Conservation International to encourage environmentally sound coffee growing practices in a reserve in Mexico.
We're very happy with our relationship with Conservation International. We first formed an allegiance with them in 1998. The El Triunfo in Chiapas, Mexico is a very biodiverse hotspot. And we focused on that one in particular because it was one of the most hot spots environmentally in the whole planet. Trees were being cut down to plant coffee trees. So we formed with them with a cooperative to try to produce shade-grown Mexico. And by producing the shade-grown, we're saying don't cut these trees down. Coffee does very well in the shade of these cover trees. So we have protected that spot. We also worked with Conservation International to help build our preferred supplier program. They're key in giving us input as to what the environmental impacts could or should be and how we measure those. We actually ended up with a win-win situation. We ended up with not only protecting the environment in Chiapas, but we've created a product that our consumers like a lot. So we now have shade-grown Mexico as a special offering. It's year-round. It's also in all of our stores, so it's in 6,500 locations around the world. And this is a coffee that people have embraced and love. It's a very smooth, mellow, rounded coffee, and it's been a real success story.
By investing so much in the regions where they have suppliers, Starbucks has seen a number of unexpected results.
Beyond the obvious giving that we do to CARE and to other projects, beyond the support, financial support we provide for Conservation International for loaning money to origins, we also conduct many social projects in our origin countries, and they're specific to where we buy our coffee. So we're really giving back into that community and making a difference in the community where we operate. So Starbucks becomes very important there. On this trip to Central America, I visited primary schools and secondary schools built by Starbucks. I visited clinics where there had been none before, available to the workers on the farm. Without that, there wouldn't be any. So it's very impactful. It's very rewarding that we can do something to help these farmers. We don't think being successful and responsible are mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand. And to grow as a company and be successful, we also need to be responsible in environmental ways and social ways, in a number of ways. And in doing so, I think we're securing our future and our future success by acting responsible.